Hey, good morning. It's October 29th, 2025. It's time for some gratitude. Today, I'm grateful for prayer and I'm grateful for dreams and waking up and being in that sort of restful state and the inspiration I get from those moments. I was just reading some Hosea. I was talking about how people die from a lack of knowledge. And today, I want to emphasize that a lot of my mission is to be able to share what's worked for me. My life has been a miracle. And I want to be able to share that miracle so that more people feel comfortable sharing who they are, not dimming their lights, and being able to truly allow their brilliance to be able to be expressed. So today, when I talk about gratitude, it's October 29th, 2025. Gratitude. I'm grateful for it. I love it. It helps me. You're going to notice on a continuing basis, I always talk about gratitude, and I almost always say I'm grateful for gratitude. The gratitude changes how we look at the world. I'm grateful for the ladybugs that are all over the house because they make me smile. They're flying around. You're probably going to see them in the camera a couple times. But that gratitude changes how we look at the world. If we had those bugs and I had an emotional reaction to them and I said, oh, I hate bugs so much. They've got to be in the house. I must be a slob because I have bugs in the house. That's not a positive mindset. That actually makes me feel bad to say that out loud. I don't feel good when I say that. But when I express the gratitude and I talk about what I'm grateful for and how I can be able to live my life in that spirit of gratitude, I can be able to live a better life. The reason I use gratitude is because it focuses on what matters. In our life, what matters is our journey. What matters is our relationships. What matters is our fellowship. When we focus on what actually matters, we're living our best life. That's why we talk about gratitude. That's why in the comments on this, you can put down what you're grateful for. And I suggest that you start doing that because the more that you're grateful, the more that you're connected to God, the more that you're having a positive experience. I'm grateful for today. I'm grateful for waking up today. Waking up today. I'm so grateful for that. Waking up today is a beautiful thing. Being alive today is a beautiful thing. When you're alive, you have a purpose. You have you have the opportunity to live your life as best you want to. Every day is a new day. Every day you can be able to make choices. Every day you can be able to change how you view the world and what you're focused on. I'm grateful for personal development work I've been doing. There's a gentleman named Bob Proctor. He's passed away, but I'm very grateful for Bob Proctor, and I'm grateful for his family and for his friends that continue his legacy forward. He's someone that his words and his ideas are so powerful about creating an internal self-image that allows for massive expansion. Within each of you, you have infinite potential. You are full of potential, and especially some of you that are very good friends of mine, y'all are amazing people. And I love what you do, what you're doing, and I really want to see you exceed even your expectations of where you are right now. Maybe you're in your teens, your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, even up into your 90s. But I want to see you exceed your expectations to go far beyond where you think is possible in this moment, to be able to create dreams that are large, that help you to be able to expand. That's the area that Bob Proctor's been tremendously beneficial for me personally, is to be able to go and have ideas and concepts about how to view oneself and then how to view the world. That's an area that I'm very beneficial for. Grateful for salvation. Turning my life over to Christ is a tremendous, tremendous gift, which I say many times I don't really deserve it because there were times in my life where I was really caught up in sin and silliness and all this other nonsense. But that salvation allows me to be able to live a life with no limitations. I'm able to go to accomplish great things, to dream big, to be able to go and to fully rely on God, to be able to create these things and to be able to learn to be inspired by other people and then to be able to inspire others. And that is a tremendous blessing when we think about that the time on this earth isn't all that matters. It's our soul that matters and how we are able to develop that. I'm grateful for being created by God, being created in God's image. So why do I talk about being created in God's image? Because people Every single one of us, I don't care from the person that's sleeping on the streets, that's experiencing homeless. I don't care about the person that's caught up in all sorts of different types of sin. I don't care about the person that's the president. I don't care about who it is. We all have this inner spark of divinity within ourselves, within who we are, what we do, and how we live our lives. Now, when we read Genesis, it constantly talks about that God is a creator. God spoke the word. God said, let there be light. All of these elements are about how we interrelate with the world. If we're created in God's image, then we're creators. That act of creation, I'm grateful for creation. I'm grateful for being able to go create things, concepts, and realities in this world. Now, something that I don't talk about very often, and which I'm actually going to talk about today, is that I have many, many interests that are unique and different from how people usually see the world. And so I'm grateful for this concept, and I'm going to call it dimming light. Dimming light is where somebody wants to be able to have social relationships. They want to have friendships. They want to have associations. And they reduce who they are to be able to fit into the group. I did this for a long time. I really wanted to fit in, and I wanted to be able to have people like me. And to do that, I would reduce what my capabilities were. I would go do things that other people did. One of the things is like watching sports. I really don't, like in my heart of hearts, I struggle to watch television, and especially anything that's violent or pornographic. I just can't watch it. I don't appreciate it. But I would go do the things that other people did to go be as a part of the group. And so this dimming the light concept, it's probably 2 M's. Dimming the light concept is that there's people that because of outside social influence don't fully realize that creative power within them that gives them the expansive capability to really live an amazing life. They're hesitant because what if I fail? What if I don't have the capability? What if I choose the wrong team? What if I don't have enough money? What if I don't have enough resources? What if I don't know what I'm really doing? All of these are true. But I want you to remember that we're created in God's image. God made you the way you are. Our society loves to use definitions. We love to say autism, ADHD. They love to say homeless. They love to say gay, straight, Christian, Jew, Gentile, black, white, whatever it is. They like to say drunk. They like to create these definitions, right? Definitions are an interesting thing because people will go and I'll meet somebody, and what a definition is it's a paradigm that somebody uses to understand society, which is an important thing. We want to understand society, but that definition becomes a way that people dim their light. When we think about dimming light, there's this greatness that God has within every single person. You are created in the spirit and image of God. There is divinity. There is a specialness. There's an integrity to your soul of who you are as a person. And how that is expressed and how that is experienced can so often be through these definitions. And these definitions can be so limiting. They can say, oh, well, I only do this. I'm a farmer, so I'm only going to look at farming. I'm a business person, so I'm only going to look at business. But it doesn't capture every facet. We look at a diamond, and you have that diamond, and it shines so brightly. It's each individual facet, how the light is reflected through the diamond, how it reflects back, how it's perceived through the eye that matters. Our definitions and how we perceive ourselves is where our eyes get focused on. If we focus our eyes on the good things, on gratitude, positive fellowship, health, wealth, prosperity. We can create amazing things. We can create an amazing society that will completely change the experience of our children and our children's children. We become what we focus on. We become, through that focus of our eyes on the things that are positive, we become something amazing. The reality is, in this world, they want us to focus our eyes on base things. They want us to focus on fear. They want to focus on uncertainty, pain. And oftentimes, pain isn't as bad and isn't as traumatic as what the perception of pain is. The perception of pain, oftentimes, and I really want you to remember this, that it's the perception of the pain that matters more than the actual pain. I've gotten hit in the face more than once in my life. And when I've gotten hit in the face, sometimes it's been a fight that was set up and we set it up, and sometimes it's been something where it just happened. But when I've been hit in the face, it's the anxiety going into the fight is worse than I've ever been hit in the face. I remember being in a fight and my nose got broken, and it was cool. It was a really fun experience. At some point, I'll share more about it. But in the fight, I come out of it, and one of my friends, she's right up in my face, and she's like, "Gary, just look forward." She's worried about a brain injury. She was a trauma nurse. She's sitting there, and she's in my face, and she's like, "Gary, I'm worried about, if you have a brain injury, let me look at your pupils." And she's trying to see if my pupils are equal and reactive to light. But she's in my face, and I'm covered in blood, and I didn't know I was covered in blood, but it didn't hurt in that moment. But going into that fight, when we were waiting for our turn, because this was a public thing, when we were waiting our turn, it actually hurt worse than it did actually getting hit in the face. When we talk about pain, when we talk about difficulty, it's the idea of it that can control us. It's the fear of, what if I don't have the money? What if I don't have the resources? What if I don't have the ideology, the capability to carry through what I'm on? Any of those things. When we focus on the gratitude, the positive fellowship, the health, wealth, and prosperity, and God, I'm going to add God in there. We focus on God. We can be who we are without fear. We can be who we are with no limitation. We can be able to fully express the greatness, the expansiveness within our lives. This greatness and expansiveness is important. And so I talked about how I'm going to stop dimming my light. So let's take a minute. Let's clean up the board a little bit. And let's talk about what I'm actually working on. Because this is a fun exercise. This is what I've been doing. So in April 2025, I had a life-changing experience. I'd been working in the power industry. I'd been working at a power plant down in San Antonio, Texas. And I had a really good time. I was working with people I liked. I was working on a project I liked. I felt great inspiration, joy, happiness working on that project. I've worked primarily as a millwright. And a millwright is an industrial mechanic. We have a specialty in crane and rigging. We have a specialty in precision measurement. We have specialties in welding, all of these other things, metal fabrication. What I want you to think of a millwright as is a nerd who's very strong and very capable. And I hang out with a bunch of millwrights. So I hang out with a bunch of very strong, very capable, very interesting people who are a lot of fun to work with and who are a blessing in my life. I love you all. With doing that, it would be 80 to 100-hour weeks. I like working 80 to 100-hour weeks. It's fun because it gives me a life focus. I am able to go do other things when I'm doing that work in those 2-hour blocks. There'll be a 2-hour block when I wake up where I can be able to go do something that I like. When I was in San Antonio, I started to make art. And I'd begun that back in October of last year, probably about a year ago. I started making art. I started making art very prolifically. The art allows the spirit within me to speak in a way that helps others. The art practice, and this all really kind of builds up to this life-changing experience, but it's a prophetic art practice. So this is a form of me being able to share and to be able to talk about my experience of God, to be able to talk about Jesus Christ through action. in my mind, the actions speak louder than the words. The words are important, and I don't in any way deny or reject the words, but it's the actions that truly matter. So I would go and I would make art, and I would give it away to people I worked with. I would give them, and I would say, and sometimes it would be a picture of like a lock, or it would be a picture of a fire extinguisher, or a picture of the turbine deck, or whatever it was that we were working on. But during breaks, I would make art, and then I would go out on the street, and I would go to town, and I would go be on the river walk, or I'd be in different spaces, and I'd make art, and I'd give it to people. And it was just a gift. It's very much about being able to share and to be able to inspire excellence in others. And you're going to hear this: inspire excellence in others. If there is any single mission that I have in my life, it is inspiring excellence in others. It is to inspire you to take action that you don't believe you're ready for, you don't think you're capable of, and to be able to go in a godly, righteous fashion, and to be able to help others. To be able to go think about Jesus, think about the Matthew chapter 5, the Beatitudes. Blessed are those who are poor, blessed are poor, all of these areas where we have this very clear message from Jesus Christ about what he's doing and why he's doing it. I have a gift for art. I really like it. So I have the prophetic art practice. I've made probably 200 art pieces within the last year. I've given away at least 40 of them. I am in the process, and Bob, this is specific for you, I am in the process of getting prints made of a lot of the original pieces, and so we're going to start selling them. And that's going to be an area where I'm able to grow the message of what we're doing and to be able to expand the practice of what legendary excellence is and how that works. So April, I had a life-changing experience. The life-changing experience was an incredibly positive one. This wasn't a negative life-changing experience. This was actually something that I loved and I treasure, and I'm very grateful for. I was nominated and then accepted into the Billy Sutton Leadership Institute. Billy Sutton had been governor, or had been member of the state legislature. He lives in Burke, South Dakota. He's a man who rode in rodeos. He was very severely injured and had life-changing injury, and he is one of the most inspiring people I know because he has an indomitable spirit and he has a strength within him that strengthens me. Billy Sutton's a Democrat, and he feels really strongly about the way that he views things, but he believes in people, and he formed this nonpartisan Leadership Institute. My entire life I've been conservative. We can go and we can look at a 20-year donation history where I've donated to Ron Paul, Donald Trump, all the way across the line. I believe very strongly in the value of free enterprise. And you're going to see areas where people will get worked up and turned around the axle about this, because I'm also in a labor union and I'm on the executive board of a labor union. And I see labor unions as creating a valid, enforceable contract through an agreement that then fits into the free enterprise system. And we can get down the line about this much further down the road. But I joined and was inducted into the Billy Sutton Leadership Institute. Joining this Leadership Institute gave me access. It gave me ideas. It gave me concepts that I'd never had before. It is a tremendous blessing. You're going to see some links in a number of different areas on this. There's some raffle tickets that we're selling for the Billy Sutton Leadership Institute to support the work that we do. And there's also an event coming up in November that's going to be amazing. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be there because I'm journeying out on my apprenticeship, but it's a really cool organization. But I joined the Billy Sutton Leadership Institute, and they gave me a tool called a Helix. The Helix is a diagnostic tool that understands and explains your personality. It gives you an understanding of how chaos tolerant are you, and how order tolerant are you, and then how team oriented are you, and how independent oriented you are. If you know me for any amount of time, you probably know what the answer is on this. But on the spectrum of chaos tolerance, I am 97%. I have a tremendous chaos tolerance. I actually grew up in an incredibly traumatic environment. I grew up in a difficult environment, and growing up that way uniquely positioned me in adulthood to be able to handle anything. And so I have this extraordinary chaos tolerance, and I'm also incredibly independent. This single test, which was developed by Dr. Rachel Headley and Megan from Rose Group International, completely changed my paradigm. It changed how I see myself created in God's image, what exactly it means to be Gary Uterberg in my life, being able to see myself as independent. And not just independent, but they give examples of other people in the world who have these same characteristics. And the person they give as the example is Elon Musk. Now, I know that politically Elon can be seen as a very controversial, very complex figure, but I have tremendous respect for him. This program is uploaded on a Starlink satellite dish. It's uploaded on those tools. And so this independence and this capability to be able to really create and execute things that no one else can see is what my key value proposition is in life. When we talk about legendary excellence, when we talk about inspiring excellence, it is this capability of being so independent, being like Elon Musk, which I have, which I'm building, and which I need your help for. So I had this positive experience. I met a lot of really amazing people. I met people that are in government. I met people that are in nonprofit leadership. I met people that are artists. I met people that just are amazing people. And yeah, there might be a different letter after the name. There might be D's, there might be R's, there might be I's, there might be all of these different things. But what I want to remember is all of us are created in God's image. We're all God's children. We have to find a way to work together. We have to. If in 100 years, what do we want the world to be like? I want more of our children, our children's children, and successive generations to lead lives of happiness, joy, growth, and excellence. So I had this experience with the Billy Sutton Leadership Institute. We're going to put a line there because it was a before and after in my life. There was a change that happened. It was very significant. I hold an executive board position with Millwright Local 548. We are a labor union. We are the oldest Millwright labor union within the United States. We're 125 years old. But I've been one of the people that's involved in governance, meaning that we set the direction, the tone, we have specific oversight and responsibility for what happens within the organization. So being on the executive board has given me experience making decisions, growing, and so on. I'm also a council delegate. For the North Central States Regional Council of Carpenters. So I'm one of the people that at the council level has responsibility, has capability to be able to analyze choices, to be able to help guide the decision, the direction of the organization. Now, we're part of the United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners of America. It's a multi-billion dollar organization that handles the labor relations between workers and a number of different companies. And so I have this capability and this understanding about operational intensity, operational capability for a very large organization with a lot of responsibility for that. So we always want to think about that as part of our discussion, right? Because I make art. Like art's always like seen as this sort of frou-frou nonsense thing, but I view it as a way to be able to communicate about God. I have this organization that I'm a part of that helps build me as a leader and has helped build me as a leader and has given me a lot of connections. And then I have this executive board position, this council delegate position. So let's go into what else Gary does. In addition, I have a nonprofit. It's called SotaSoDak. Soda, last four letters of Minnesota, South Dakota. SotaSoDak is about inspiring excellence through the gospel of Jesus Christ. We've been operational for 3.5 years. We're a 501c3 organization. What that means is that we have official government recognition of what we do. Tax donations to us are tax deductible. What our work does helps others to be able to create good in our society. I'm recording this at home, And I got to see the young man who I started the organization with leaving his house to go to work today, which when we first started this was something that would have been a very, very large ask to think that this young man would have a job. And through consistently teaching, inspiring, and growing young people and sharing the gospel, we've been able to create positive outcomes. And to work with youth that aren't getting effective messaging. People will go to church and you get this 1 hour, 2 hour message and you get the time with the people at church, and it can be very powerful and it can be very life-changing, but not everybody learns that way. Something that I want you to remember with this is that I don't think and experience life the same way other people do. There's direct missions that are in line, and there's other people that match my energy who I communicate very well with, but it's not, I don't have the life where I'm going and watching television, or I don't have the life where I'm going and having a family or kids or any of those things. My life is about creation. For me, the experience is kind of like Paul, where you go and I'm just gonna fully invest in what I'm doing. It's where I'm at. I'm not saying you have to do it, but it makes me really happy. But so we have this 501c3 nonprofit. We've grown very significantly. We have an ebook available. We have a number of different ways to be able to get plugged in. We're actively recruiting volunteers, and if it's something that you're interested in, give me a call. Now, that life change with Billy Sutton Leadership Institute was significant. Millwright work is significant. And in my Millwright work, I mostly worked on nuclear power plants in the last 5 years. So I'd work on reactors and I'd work on turbine decks and all these sorts of things. And that's a whole unique, separate area that we'll shoot another video about. I have an LLC called Dakota Cornerstone. Dakota Cornerstone is a portfolio of projects. The fundamental essence of what we have here is to inspire excellence in others. I talk about that repeatedly. Inspire excellence in others, inspire excellence in others, inspire excellence in others. We can use my words to inspire excellence. We can use the work that we generate from this to inspire excellence. We can generate ideas and concepts that don't exist currently to change the dynamic within our society. Dakota Cornerstone has a portfolio of projects. So often, these are secular. So I'm not expressly sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ in what I do. Now I'm going to tell you something. Who I am, if you hang around me, you're going to see the actions, you're going to see the behaviors, you're going to see the consistency of action, of message, and so on. But these projects are secular because they're a different nexus, a different way to be able to create an interaction with somebody that wouldn't be able to get this message otherwise. That maybe it takes time for somebody to be able to cultivate the life experience that they can truly accept Christ. They can be able to live a life that's righteous, that's godly, that's happy, healthy, and wise. When we think about that, I always think about my own journey. My life and my voice was trapped for about 25 years. I grew up in an extraordinarily difficult environment. We had wealth, but we had a lot of challenges. Those challenges were very, very significant. And they were challenges that came from trauma. They came from past generational trauma. They came from wars. They came from not living honestly. They came from all of these different things. And so my voice and my life was trapped for 25 years. And so I want you to always remember when you look at what I'm working on to understand and remember that it's because of my experience of 25 years of horrific nightmare existence. And the thing that got me out of that 25 years, and I always talk about John chapter 5, 5:14, it talks about go forth and sin no more. But it's the man who's by the well in Bethesda who's sitting there and he hasn't walked. I believe it was 38 years, but he hasn't walked in 38 years. And Jesus comes, and there would be an angel that would come down and stir the well, but the people around him would have friends with him. The other people around, they would have friends with them, and they would put them in the well, and whoever went into the well first would be saved. The lameness, the difficulty they would have would be saved. But Jesus came down and changed that man's life. When I got sober, my life changed. That was a huge imposition that was on my life, that was painful, that was difficult, was that how I interacted with alcohol. kept me crippled. And it's a mindset. Addiction is a mindset issue. It isn't the substance. The substance is a meaningless thing. The substance is a reinforcing pattern, but it's how we experience it and how we view the world with addiction that changes who we are. And so with Dakota Cornerstone, my focus is on workforce and economic development. I said again, I'm not dimming my light. I'm not pretending that, I'm not going to sit here and qualify anything and say, oh, well, I'm just this or I'm just that. I'm Gary. I'm created in God's image. This is what's in my heart. This is what I'm creating. I have workforce and economic development programs. I also have ways to be able to increase dialogue across parties. I'm very troubled by the murder of Michelle Hootman. I'm very troubled by the murder of Charlie Kirk. I'm very troubled by the dialogue that came after that. Because when you see these violent acts, when you look at the great violence that occurred on the street around the time of COVID, when we had the George Floyd civil unrest, riots, whatever you want to call it, but when we had that physical violence on the streets in a society, that's not a good sign. Okay, I used to sell statistical process control software. So you'd make widgets, and you'd have like this wave sign of what's going on in the machine, and you have a system, and the system's running, and you want to stay within the bounds of what's acceptable tolerance for what's getting built. For the United States of America, what I see right now is that we have an acceptable bounds of political discourse. Okay, and we have sometimes very good, positive discourse. Both sides really believe in what they're doing. But then we get these things that happen outside. We get these things that are horrific. We get these nightmares where it's people that are brilliant, that are speaking out, that believe in what they believe in for justified reasons. And I'm going to tell you that I've talked to people from every end of the political spectrum. I've talked to communists, I've talked to open fascists, I've talked to people that are Republicans, that are Democrats, I've talked to people that are in the center, I've talked to young people, I've talked to old people. The thing that everybody wants is a better future. That's the commonality. It's the better future. It's being able to have a path forward that helps us to be able to live better. It's so our children, our children's children, and future generations can be able to live a better future. But we have Charlie Kirk, we have civil unrest, riot, whatever you want to call it. We have Hootman. I was actually at one of the wakes for that representative. We had a board meeting for my union, and we used that facility for that wake, and I didn't attend the whole thing, but seeing people that hurt, confused, and demoralized is a terrible thing. And I don't care about what political party you're in, but we look at Charlie Kirk, we look at this young man who's brilliant, who's a great orator, who's very aggressive, very bold, very willing to speak from the heart about what he believes. And we need to find a way to model, to demonstrate, and to build greater collaboration and capability. Now, it doesn't mean that we go accept things. It doesn't mean that we go and say, oh, well, I don't want violence. Let's not speak the truth. Let's not talk about what our actual experience is. Let's not share about that. What it means is that we can have constructive dialogue. Now, within this program, Dakota Cornerstone, I have a program that I'm developing to be able to create more of that. And that program's under development. I've got people working for me that are building that program to be able to have constructive dialogue, to be able to create something that can allow us to be able to have a stronger society, to be able to have a better future for all of our generations. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to be one way or the other. It means that we're going to have constructive dialogue. I want to view politics more as a constructive, positive competition. Think about it as the Olympics of how we want to see the best world in the future. Not as this winner take all. Oh, I'm a Democrat or a Republican, and you are not that, so you're bad, and we're not going to be friends. I want us all to be able to remember that at the end of the day, we're human beings, we're Americans, we're South Dakotans. We want to be able to see positive futures for us, for our families, and for our futures. So being able to find that dialogue means finding common ground. It means listening to things that we don't agree with and not having an emotional reaction. That emotional reaction cripples us. That emotional reaction gets us caught in the emotional reaction as opposed to actually being able to build something moving forward. But so I have a project within Dakota Cornerstone that's to build advocacy, to build dialogue across cultures. It's under development. It's not fully built yet. We're still working on it. But that's something that's part of the Dakota Cornerstone model. There's also, under Dakota Cornerstone, is a continuation of the work that I'm doing with SotaSoDak. So SotaSoDak is to build pathways to better futures. Build pathways to better futures is done by being in an environment, by being in a culture, by being in a community of people that are modeling the behavior that can build a better future. With this, I have a project, I call it the Dakota Bridge Project. In the region, there's $1.7 billion with a B, wind energy and fossil energy projects. Two contractors are Invenergy and Missouri River Energy Services. With these two projects, you have $1.7 billion worth of projects that want to be built in our backyard. One of them's in Phillips, South Dakota, one of them's in Toronto, and the other one's in South Dual County. It's the South Dual Wind Project. Missouri River Energy Services, and then it's also Invenergy. This $1.7 billion worth of projects can go and be an engine, not just to power and put electrons down a power line, but it can be an engine for growth for this region and for our young people. And the reason why I talk about this through Dakota Cornerstone is that we can create workforce development tools that work with the tribes, the 9 sovereign tribes across the state. Right now, I've got a partnership with the Lower Brule Sioux Tribe. I've been pursuing grants since way back in April when I started this process. I've been applying to grants. The Templeton Foundation is one of the grant houses that I've applied for. They're very conservative. I really have a strong personal affinity for that organization. The Templeton Foundation is great. But I've been pursuing grants to be able to build this program. Because this workforce development and working with our tribal brothers and sisters is a tremendous greenfield. It's a tremendous opportunity. When we look at what the society is that we want to see in the future, I want to hear voices that have been silent. When I talk about hearing voices that have been silent, I think about my experience. I think about growing up. I think about the chaos. I think about the problems that I was caught up in. And I think about the need to be able to hear voices that have been silent. I also, so with the workforce development, I also want it to be for rural communities. Because it's foolish to build these huge power generation facilities and to not have it specifically serve South Dakotans and not specifically serve the populations that have the best opportunity to benefit from this. I have connections with the union apprenticeships. When I talk about the union apprenticeship, the United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners of America has 550,000 members. So as a labor union, it's very large, it's very powerful. These union apprenticeships can allow someone to go through an indoctrination program of a couple of weeks to a couple months to start working, and then throughout their work period, they're able to attend and go to the apprenticeship to be able to learn how to do the job successfully. Creating the way to do the job successfully is something that the unions are incredibly powerful for. So you can take people that are in an existing state, maybe they are in a chaotic environment, like what I grew up in, maybe they are in a challenging environment, maybe they don't have those resources, tools, and capabilities right away, but we can be able to teach them through something called a milieu. Milieu is a concept of the environment changing who you are. Knowing Jesus Christ changes who you are. Knowing construction workers and how to work in construction changes who you are and how you see the world. This still doesn't capture everything that I'm working on. I'm also running for House District 4 for the South Dakota legislature. And I also have other related projects that help to be able to expand this inspiring excellence in others. But when we talk about what I'm about and how I'm living my life, it's because of this knowledge that I'm created in God's image. It's that God is a creator. If there's anything you can do today that will make you happy, it will be the act of creation. It will be the act of the intentional pursuit of success, the intentional pursuit of service to others. And yes, this is a for-profit organization. Yes, this is something that will generate money, but it will only be made in partnership with the tribal members. It has to be something that is a partnership. So when you think about me, I want you to think about somebody that can be able to connect a lot of different things, who's had these life changes, who had these very difficult upbringing, very difficult existence, and who found salvation, and who wants to see more people find salvation. This is a lot of information, and I'm really grateful for you spending the time to be able to make this. I originally thought this was going to be a 20-minute video, and we're up to 42 minutes. So that's part of the joy of this. But I want you to not dim your light. I want you to decide today that you're not going to dim your light. Because I sit here and I talk about it. You know, I'm a certified master rigger. I'm a certified crane operator. I have certifications for welding. I have all of these different capabilities. I have a bachelor's degree in philosophy. I'm the executive director for a nonprofit. I'm running for House District 4 in South Dakota. I have all of these different interests, these different capabilities. And many people focus on one lane and they stay in one lane. And I think that's a beautiful thing, and I don't argue that. But for who I am, for being Gary Uterberg, created in God's image, I have a ton of different interests. I have a ton of different things that I'm involved in. I want to see the society flourish. I need help to be able to do all of this. I need people to subscribe to my Patreon. I need people to donate to my nonprofit. I need people that want to volunteer. You're going to see more information about what this looks like. I also need people to buy my art, Bob, which I think you mentioned. But I need volunteers. And some of it can eventually turn into paid, but don't start it with the idea that you're going to get paid for it. But I need help to be able to do the websites, the capability, the door knocking, all of these different things. So if you're interested in volunteering, put it down on the message. Tell me specifically what your capabilities are, and we can get you tied in. I'd really love to be able to find people that have strong organizational and administrative capability that want to be a part of this, because this is a tremendous life purpose. I've sold almost all my cryptocurrency. I'm about to sell a bunch more assets to be able to build this, because this is what matters. God creates us in his image. We need more people to be creators, to live, to be able to develop, to really understand free enterprise, to be able to flourish and to be able to develop a truly amazing world and a truly amazing life for 100 years from now, not just for today. God bless you. Thank you for watching all of this. I'm very impressed. And live with legendary excellence.